Hi, Julie Asher, Recipes for a Sweet Life. As you may or may not know, I have a long-standing fetish with paper, postcards, vintage note cards, things of that sort. I've got a huge collection, some of which I've got here. And I love to use them throughout the year, at the holiday time and every season to dress up my household decor. So for instance, I have an old restaurant stand to which you tack on orders, and I often clip the postcards there and just swap them out with the season. But more often I like to bring these special treats to people more directly, up close and personal, by putting them together in a special gift. So for instance, today we're going to be turning this particular postcard into beautiful personalized place cards that look like holiday gift cards, if you will. So they'll identify place settings, but they can also serve as a keepsake that the guest can take home with them after a holiday meal. So let's get started. Okay, let's talk about what we'll need for this project. First and foremost, you need a card that you're going to repurpose. I'm a bit of a cardaholic, as I said, and I routinely scour my antiques malls for this sort of thing. I love this card because it's classically Christmas and has very little writing on it, so it's going to be perfect to scan for my place card project. You'll also need some colorful scrapbooking papers. I love these that come color coordinated and in seasonal themes, and I've got sources in my video description for them. You'll need a paper cutter, and you'll need a few crafting tools to put eyelets in the corner of the tag to secure two pieces of paper together. This little kit, and I've got the source in the video description as well, includes all those tools and more. It's got a crimping tool, this metal tool for putting the eyelets in place, and I've chosen red eyelets for the holiday season. It's also got a paper punch, a little pink pad, so when you're hammering the eyelet, you don't damage your countertop. And last but not least, you'll need some ribbon for tying the tag together. If you want to up your game and do an edible place card, hop on over into my other video where I do a harvest napkin ring made of cookies. The first step here is to get those names on the card, and of course you don't want to write directly on the original piece because you'll ruin it and you won't be able to use it for other projects. So I've taken mine, I've scanned it using my Epson scanner, but any scanner will do, and I have sized it down a bit so that I can fit more to a page, and also I will be backing this with additional scrapbooking paper, so I don't want these to be too large. As far as font, I superimposed it in Photoshop, but any photo editing software will do, and I used a traveling typewriter font, quirky kind of typewriter set, which just fits my country vintage theme. Pretty heavy cardstock it's printed on, and it'll be even more sturdy because I'm going to back it with colorful paper, as you'll see in the next step. For this process, I like to use spray adhesive because it goes down very, very smoothly without any lumpiness as opposed to other types of glue. Process is extremely simple. Simply spray the adhesive on the back of the paper and stick the prepared gift card sheet on top. I like to cover my surface with parchment paper and also put up a backdrop because the spray adhesive can tend to go everywhere. Now, come to think of it, I probably should have sprayed the gift tag paper and not the larger piece because I'm going to trim off that excess and it's going to be all sticky and I'll have a hard time reusing it. But live and learn. We'll do that next time. I'm going to do the same thing with two pieces of scrapbooking paper. I'm going to put those back to back. They'll form a back page, if you will, because I'm going to double up this tag. It's going to have two pieces of paper to it, hinged together with the eyelet, just like so. But before we do that, we need to trim these down to size. I'm just going to use my handy dandy desktop size paper cutter for that, which I just love because I can do this kind of work anywhere. And I'm going to trim up the backing piece, the doubled up scrapbooking paper, so it's just about 1/4 of an inch bigger all the way around. Okay, the next step is to put the eyelet in place to secure those two pieces of paper together, and that's as easy as lining them up and punching a hole in the corner. The only thing to be aware of is that the paper punch needs to actually match your eyelet size. If the hole is too big, the eyelet will swim around and the paper will never be secured tightly together. But usually these things are sized, so when you're in the craft store, you can pick a punch and eyelets that do fit together. Then put that eyelet in face forward, so the pretty side is facing up. Turn it over onto your mat so you don't damage your counter. Place your crimping tool in the back of the eyelet, and again, the eyelet needs to be sized to fit that crimping tool, and vice versa. If it isn't, when you bang it in place, you'll either destroy the eyelet or the two pieces won't be secured tightly together. But this one is perfectly sized, and the test here, as you'll see, is that they're nicely secured. There's a nice tight fit here. Now my last step is to string it on up with ribbon, and I've chosen a color coordinated red. and a ribbon with a little bit of stitching on the edge, which I think ties in really nicely with my country Christmas theme. I'm just going to do a very, very simple bow. Nothing to it. And the finishing touch is trimming up the edges and sticking in a little bit of beautiful evergreen cut from my trees in my yard. Now, when I'm setting table settings for the holiday season, I like to use a layered approach, again drawing on mismatched china and lots of different patterns. But to keep it harmonious, I make sure the color palette is tight. It's very red and green, as you can see, and very, very festive with the place card set on top. Now, I've got a number of other repurposing ideas that all use the same concept, and they're all great for the holiday season. The first uses the same card in a slightly different way. And here I've printed menu items on it. And the idea here is to stick this little tag next to the item on a buffet table or at a cookie swap to identify what it is guests are eating. You can put the printed papers on the back, but you might also consider printing the ingredients there. With all the allergies people have these days, this is often a good idea. Here's a graphic that I really, really love, but it posed a problem because of all the text, so I simply whited that out in Photoshop and expanded the pane so that I could put a menu there instead. Here's that same graphic. Because I love it so much, it became the title image here on a multi-page invitation. This is a little pamphlet instead of the normal open card that you open side to side, and I think that just creates a little element of surprise. So each page has a little bit of different information about the party on it, as you can see here. I think this third page has the what, when, and where information. Yeah. And all of these cards are backed with these gorgeous papers in different patterns, but I've maintained a really tight color scheme so that the patterns don't start competing with one another, but instead harmonize. And the last little detail, I've used an eyelet again, but I've bound them with vintage Christmas ornaments to tie into the vintage theme. Here's another beautiful graphic and the same sort of pamphlet idea, but here instead I've printed cookie recipes. This was a little gift I made for my friends that came to a cookie swap. I gathered their recipes in advance and printed them out. And they were all given this little booklet to take home so that they had everyone's recipes at the end of the day. So pretty simple, right? What a great way to extend the beauty of something you really cherish and love. As simple as scanning it and translating it into a beautiful little place tag. Till next time, live sweetly.